Lyra lived on a quiet, beautiful planet far away from Earth. The sky was often a soft shade of purple, and the trees glowed faintly in the dark. The air smelled fresh, and the sound of gentle winds mixed with the soft calls of strange birds. Lyra was part of an alien race that had lived on this planet for many generations. Her people were peaceful and spent most of their time learning about nature, music, and their own history. They rarely left their world, and almost never met humans. One morning, everything changed. Lyra was walking near a sparkling river when she noticed something unusual in the sky. A group of ships appeared, shining brightly as they slowly came closer. She watched as the ships landed carefully in a clearing near her village. The people around her grew nervous and whispered quietly. The visitors were humans, wearing strange clothes and carrying equipment that looked both fascinating and frightening. Lyra's heart beat faster as she watched the humans move with a mix of caution and confidence. The leader of the group was a tall man with calm eyes. His name was Jack. He was a soldier sent to her planet on a mission of peace. Jack and his team were not there to fight, but to understand the alien world and find ways to live together without conflict. Lyra wanted to know more about these humans, but she was also afraid. Her people had heard stories about humans before, some good and some bad. She had never met one face-to-face until now. She felt a strange flutter inside her chest, something she had never felt before. Her heartbeat was quick and uneven. She didn't understand why, but when Jack stepped closer to the edge of the clearing, looking around with interest, Lyra felt her breath catch. Jack noticed Lyra, too. He saw her standing by the river, her skin shimmering softly in the sunlight. He felt curious and a little nervous. He had trained for many years, but this moment was different. It was peaceful, but also full of unknowns. Jack wanted to approach her, to learn her name and where she came from. He took a careful step forward, raising his hand in a gentle wave. Lyra's heartbeat raced even faster. She wasn't sure if she should stay or run. Something about Jack's eyes made her feel safe, even though this was their first meeting. Slowly, she lifted her hand and waved back. The simple gesture broke the silence between them. For a moment, the world seemed still, and all the fear faded away. Around them, other aliens watched from a distance. Some were worried, whispering that humans might be dangerous. Others were curious like Lyra. Among the humans, some soldiers stayed alert, ready for anything, while others looked relaxed and hopeful. Jack's team set up camp near the clearing, but Jack kept returning to watch Lyra from afar. Over the next few days, Jack and Lyra saw each other often, sometimes from a distance, sometimes near the river. They learned to communicate with small signs and smiles. Lyra showed Jack how to listen to the sounds of the forest, and Jack shared stories about Earth and human life. Their meetings became the highlight of their days. One evening, as the sun set and the sky turned orange and pink, Jack brought a small gift, a smooth stone that glowed softly. Lyra was surprised and touched. She had never received a gift from a human before. She held the stone carefully and smiled shyly. Her heartbeat was steady now, but full of warmth. Jack realized that this simple connection was more important than any orders or missions. He wanted to protect Lyra and her people, not just with weapons, but with kindness. Lyra, in turn, wanted to learn more about Jack's world and help her people understand humans better. But not everyone was happy. Some aliens warned Lyra to stay, away from the humans. "They are not like us," they said. "You don't know what they might do." Some humans also doubted the aliens' intentions and stayed cautious. Yet, Jack and Lyra continued to meet in secret, their bond growing stronger. One day, during a quiet walk by the river, Lyra looked at Jack and said her first words in human language. "Hello." It was a simple word, but it carried a world of meaning. Jack smiled and replied, "Hello, Lyra." From that moment, everything changed. The connection between them was no longer just curiosity. It was the beginning of trust and friendship. Lyra's heartbeat raced again, but this time it was a happy, hopeful feeling. She knew that meeting Jack was the start of something new, not just for her, but for both their worlds. They had taken the first step toward a future where humans and aliens could understand each other, live in peace, and maybe even become friends. The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the river. Lyra and Jack sat quietly, watching the stars appear one by one. Neither of them spoke for a while, but their eyes said everything. They both knew their journey was only beginning and that their story would be remembered for many years to come. After their first simple greetings, Lyra and Jack's meetings became more frequent. They looked forward to the moments when they could see each other without fear or worry. Lyra was eager to understand this new human world that Jack came from, and Jack wanted to learn more about Lyra's peaceful planet and her people. At first, communication was slow and difficult. They used gestures, drawings on the ground, and sometimes even funny sounds to share ideas. Jack taught Lyra some basic words from his language, and Lyra showed Jack how her people expressed feelings through colors and soft lights that glowed from their skin. These small lessons were exciting for both of them. Every new word or gesture brought them closer together. Lyra had never felt such curiosity before. She loved to explore and learn, but humans were different from anything she had seen. Jack told her about Earth, a planet full of cities, oceans, and many people with different cultures. He spoke about music, food, and celebrations, painting pictures with his words. Lyra listened closely, fascinated by the life on Earth. Jack, on the other hand, found Lyra's stories about her home planet magical. She described forests that could sing when the wind blew and animals that changed colors like a rainbow. She spoke of ancient traditions and songs her people sang during the stars' dances. Jack felt like he was learning about a fairy tale, but it was real. One afternoon, while they sat by the riverbank, Lyra showed Jack how to listen to the sounds around them. She closed her eyes and focused, pointing out the soft hum of the glowing trees, the gentle rustle of leaves, and the quiet splash of water. Jack tried to listen the same way, but his ears were used to city noises. Still, he felt peaceful in the silence of her world. Their friendship began to break down the walls between their species. Jack no longer saw Lyra as just an alien. She was a person with hopes, fears, and dreams. Lyra didn't see Jack as a soldier or an invader, but as a kind and brave human who wanted to understand her world. However, the peace between them was fragile. Other aliens in the village watched Lyra carefully. Some were unsure about her spending time with a human. They whispered to each other, worried that Jack and his team might bring trouble. Lyra felt the weight of their eyes but chose to follow her heart instead of fear. On the human side, some soldiers were suspicious too. They talked about the dangers of trusting aliens, and some warned Jack to be careful. Jack felt torn. His duty was to protect his team and mission, but he also felt a growing bond with Lyra that made him question the idea of enemies. Despite this, Jack and Lyra found ways to meet secretly. They created a small path through the forest, hidden by glowing plants and thick bushes. There they could share stories and dreams without worry. Sometimes they exchanged small gifts, a smooth stone, a leaf that sparkled, or a drawing made with colorful dust. One day, Jack showed Lyra a photograph of his family. Lyra looked at the faces, smiling warmly. She understood that these people were important to him, even if they were far away. She told Jack about her own family, describing their gentle voices and loving hearts. Both felt a little less lonely, knowing they had people who cared for them. Lyra's feelings grew stronger, but she didn't fully understand what was happening inside her. Every time Jack came near, her heart would beat faster, and a strange warmth would spread through her body. It was confusing but nice. Jack noticed this too, and though he couldn't explain it, he felt something special between them. Their growing closeness taught them patience and courage. They learned to listen carefully, not just with their ears, but with their hearts. Even when words failed, their eyes and smiles spoke volumes. They shared laughter and quiet moments, creating memories that neither would forget. One night the sky was clear and stars shone brightly. Lyra invited Jack to see the light dance, a tradition where her people released glowing orbs into the air to celebrate peace and friendship. Jack watched in awe as the orbs floated like tiny stars, filling the sky with color. He felt honored to be part of something so beautiful. As the night ended, Jack and Lyra sat side by side, feeling a deep connection that crossed the boundaries of their worlds. They both knew the path ahead would be difficult. Their friendship was still a secret, and many did not trust it. But for the first time, they believed that understanding was possible, even between two very different species. Days turned into weeks, and their bond grew stronger. Lyra practiced Jack's language every day, and Jack learned the gentle art of listening to the forest's whispers. They dreamed of a future where their people could live in harmony, and where friendships like theirs could be the beginning of something greater. But they also knew the challenges. The fear and mistrust around them were real, and their friendship was a fragile light in a world full of shadows. Yet Jack and Lyra were ready to face whatever came next, trusting that their connection was worth fighting for. As Jack and Lyra's friendship grew stronger, they began to face new challenges they had never expected. Not everyone around them was happy about their connection. The feelings of hope and trust they shared were like a bright light in a world full of doubts and fears. These feelings attracted attention, some friendly, but many filled with suspicion. Among Lyra's people, there were those who watched her closely. They whispered in quiet voices, worried about what the humans wanted. "Why does she spend so much time with a soldier?" they asked. "Humans are strangers. They may bring danger." Some elders warned Lyra to stop meeting Jack, fearing that the peace could be broken if her people trusted too quickly. Lyra understood their concerns but could not stop thinking about Jack. She believed he was different from the stories she had heard. He was kind, patient, and curious about her world. She felt safe with him, and her heart beat fast whenever he was near. It was a feeling she didn't fully understand, but it gave her courage to keep going. On the human side, the situation was equally difficult. Some soldiers were uneasy around the aliens. They remembered old wars and conflicts, and it was hard for them to trust. Jack's commanders warned him to be careful. "We don't know what the aliens want," they said. "Stay alert and don't get too close." Jack wanted to follow orders, but he also felt torn. His friendship with Lyra made him believe there was more to their meeting than danger. The tension between the two groups began to grow. Small arguments and misunderstandings started to happen near the border where humans and aliens met. Each side blamed the other for things that went wrong. It seemed that war might happen, and Jack and Lyra's secret friendship was at risk. One day, Lyra heard that her people were planning to stop talking with the humans altogether. A meeting was called to decide how to protect their planet from possible threats. Lyra felt scared and sad. She wanted peace, but others wanted safety above all. She wondered if her people would ever understand that Jack was a friend, not an enemy. At the same time, Jack received orders to prepare for possible conflict. His team was told to increase patrols and be ready for anything. Jack knew that if fighting started, it could destroy everything he and Lyra had built. He thought about their quiet talks by the river, the gifts they shared, and the peaceful moments under the stars. He didn't want to lose that. Despite the growing pressure, Jack and Lyra found ways to meet in secret. They hid in the forest, where thick trees and glowing plants covered their path. They spoke softly, sharing their fears and hopes. Lyra told Jack about her people's traditions and dreams for the future. Jack shared stories about his family and the home he missed. One afternoon, while they were talking, they heard voices nearby. Jack quickly pulled Lyra behind a large tree. Two soldiers were passing, talking about new orders and dangers. Lyra's heart pounded and Jack's hands shook. They knew that if anyone discovered their secret meetings, it could be dangerous for both of them. But even with the risks, their bond gave them strength. Lyra's heartbeat no longer raced with fear. It beat with determination. She wanted to show her people that not all humans were enemies. Jack wanted to prove that peace was possible, even when the world seemed ready for war. Then came a sudden crisis. One day, a misunderstanding between some soldiers and aliens led to a small but serious fight. No one was hurt badly, but the event scared everyone. The leaders of both sides began to prepare for more conflict. The chance for peace seemed to be slipping away. Jack and Lyra knew they had to act. They met in their secret place and made a plan. If they could speak to the leaders and explain what really happened, maybe they could stop the fighting. It was dangerous, but they believed their friendship gave them hope. With courage, Jack went to speak with his commanders. He told them about Lyra and the peaceful talks they had shared. He explained that the fight was a mistake and that they needed to find a way to understand each other. At the same time, Lyra spoke to the elders of her people, telling them about Jack's kindness and the hope she felt for their future. Their words were not easy to hear. Both sides were scared and angry, but Jack and Lyra's bravery made some people listen. Slowly, a small group of leaders began to consider a different path, one of peace instead of war. While the larger group still argued and prepared for battle, Jack and Lyra kept working in secret. They met with others who wanted peace, sharing stories and dreams of a better future. Their friendship became a symbol of hope, a reminder that even in dark times, understanding was possible. Through all these challenges, Lyra learned more about human feelings and struggles. Jack learned more about the beauty and wisdom of her people. They found that even though their worlds were different, their hopes and dreams were very much the same. Their secret meetings gave them strength to face the danger around them. They knew that war was still a threat, but they believed their friendship could help change hearts and minds. The journey was hard, but they were ready to keep trying, for the sake of their worlds and the promise of peace. The tension between the humans and the aliens was growing day by day. After the small fight, fear filled the hearts of many. Leaders on both sides prepared their people for war, believing it was the only way to keep their homes safe. But deep in the forest, Jack and Lyra refused to give up hope. They knew there was another way, a peaceful way. Jack and Lyra understood that if they wanted to stop the fighting, they had to act quickly. They decided to bring their message of peace to the leaders. It was a dangerous plan. Neither of them knew if the leaders would listen or if they would be seen as traitors, but they believed in their friendship and the chance to save both their worlds. Jack began by talking to his commanders. He explained that the aliens were not enemies, but people with hopes and fears like humans. He told them about Lyra's kindness and the peaceful moments they had shared. Jack's words were strong and honest, but some commanders were still doubtful. They asked many questions, worried about the safety of their team and the future of their mission. At the same time, Lyra met with the elders of her people. She spoke from her heart about Jack and what their friendship meant. She told them how important it was to listen and to try to understand the humans instead of fearing them. Some elders were moved by her words, but others remained cautious. They reminded her that history held many dangers and that trust must be earned carefully. Despite the challenges, a small group of leaders from both sides decided to try something new. They agreed to meet secretly to talk about peace. Jack and Lyra were invited to join. It was a hopeful sign, but the road ahead was still uncertain. During these secret meetings, Jack and Lyra shared their experiences and dreams. They helped the leaders see that their fears could be overcome through understanding and cooperation. The talks were slow and sometimes difficult, but each small step forward was a victory. Outside the meetings, not everyone was happy. Some aliens and humans protested the idea of peace. They believed that the other side could never be trusted. Jack and Lyra's secret friendship became a symbol for hope, but also a target for those who wanted conflict. One night, as the talks continued, Jack and Lyra sat by the river, thinking about everything they had been through. The water was calm, and the stars sparkled above. Lyra's heartbeat was steady and full of hope now. She knew their journey was far from over, but she believed in the power of peace. Suddenly, they heard a noise nearby. It was a group of soldiers and aliens, angry and ready to stop the talks. Jack and Lyra quickly stood up, knowing this could be a dangerous moment. But instead of fighting, they stepped forward together. Jack spoke calmly to the group, explaining that war would only bring pain to both sides. Lyra shared her hope for a future where their worlds could live in harmony. Slowly, some of the angry voices began to soften. They saw the courage in Jack and Lyra, and the truth in their words. The next day, the leaders announced a truce. Both humans and aliens agreed to stop fighting and work toward a peaceful future. It was a new beginning, and Jack and Lyra's friendship was at the heart of it. With the truce, more meetings were held openly. People from both worlds came together to share stories, learn about each other's cultures, and find ways to help one another. Jack and Lyra became ambassadors of peace, teaching others that understanding was the key to a better future. Lyra introduced Jack to her family and friends, and Jack shared his own stories from Earth. Their worlds began to mix, not with fear, but with curiosity and respect. Children from both species played together, and festivals celebrated their new friendship. Through it all, Jack and Lyra's bond grew stronger. They had faced danger, fear, and doubt, but they had chosen hope. Their hearts beat with the same desire, to build a world where no one would have to hide their friendship or fear the other. As seasons changed, their story became a legend told by many. It reminded everyone that even in the darkest times, a single act of courage and kindness could light the way. Jack and Lyra showed that peace was not just a dream, but a choice anyone could make. The river where they first met became a special place, a symbol of their journey. People visited it to remember that friendship and trust could cross any boundary, no matter how different two worlds might seem. Jack and Lyra looked at the stars one night, knowing their adventure was just beginning. They were ready to face the future together, with open hearts and hopeful spirits. Their story was not just theirs. It belonged to everyone who believed in the power of peace. After the truce was announced, a new feeling spread through both the humans and the aliens. It was a feeling of hope and possibility. Jack and Lyra's friendship had helped start something big, something that many thought was impossible. Now, both worlds began to imagine a future where they could live together peacefully. The days that followed were filled with meetings and celebrations. Humans and aliens gathered to talk about how to build a new life together. They shared stories, music, and food. Each side was eager to learn about the other's culture. The differences that once seemed so strange began to feel exciting and special. Jack and Lyra became symbols of this new friendship. People looked up to them as examples of courage and understanding. They were often invited to speak at gatherings where they told their story and encouraged others to be open-hearted. Their message was simple: peace starts with trust and kindness. Lyra introduced Jack to her family and friends. Her people welcomed him warmly, curious about the human who had touched their daughter's heart. Jack was amazed by the beauty of her home and the warmth of her people. He felt lucky to be part of this new chapter. Jack also invited Lyra to meet his family on Earth through messages and pictures. He told her stories about his home planet, the tall mountains, the vast oceans, and the busy cities full of people from many places. Lyra listened carefully, dreaming of one day visiting Earth herself. Children from both worlds began to play together in the open fields and glowing forests. They laughed, learned, and shared games. The future they imagined was coming to life before their eyes. These children would grow up knowing that differences could be celebrated, not feared. Festivals were held where humans and aliens danced side by side. Music mixed from both worlds filled the air. Lyra and Jack often stood together, smiling as they watched their people enjoy the new friendship. It was a joy they had worked hard to create. Yet the journey was not always easy. Some still remembered the old fears and worries. Sometimes arguments would happen and mistrust would try to creep back in. But Jack and Lyra always reminded everyone that peace was a choice they must keep making. Every day, Lyra continued to learn human language and customs. Jack learned the gentle ways of her people, how they spoke without words through colors and lights. Their differences made their bond stronger because they both respected and embraced what made them unique. One day, a special ceremony was held at the river where Jack and Lyra first met. The river was decorated with glowing flowers and soft lights. Leaders from both worlds came together to celebrate the friendship that had saved their worlds from war. Jack and Lyra were honored as heroes, but they said the true heroes were everyone who chose peace. As the ceremony ended, Lyra took Jack's hand. They looked into each other's eyes and smiled. Their journey had started with a simple hello and had grown into something powerful. Their friendship was a promise that no matter how different two beings might be, they could find common ground. The people around them cheered and smiled, feeling hopeful for the future. Jack and Lyra knew that their story would inspire others for generations. They believed that peace was not just for their worlds, but for anyone willing to open their hearts. Years passed, and the bond between humans and aliens grew even stronger. Trade, education, and travel between the two planets became common. Scientists worked together to explore the stars. Artists shared their creations, blending styles and traditions. The worlds had truly come together. Jack and Lyra's friendship was still strong, full of respect and love. They had faced challenges, danger, and fear, but their courage had changed history. They showed that even the smallest steps, like a greeting or a smile, could lead to great things. As they stood by the river one quiet evening, the stars shining above, they dreamed of the future, a future where no one was judged by their differences, but celebrated for their kindness. A future where friendship and peace were the strongest forces in the universe. Their story was no longer just theirs. It belonged to everyone who believed that love and understanding could conquer fear. Jack and Lyra had started a journey that would never end, a journey toward a better world for all.